Hi, goalies, goalie coaches, and goalie parents. I'm Brian DeCord. Welcome to the Goalie Podcast. I'm joined today by Eric Woodbeck and John Corrado. John, how are we doing today?
Doing very well. Looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this conversation we're going to have for a long time. Eric and I have been going over Instagram back and forth for probably 3 or 4 months trying to get this organized. It's finally happened, so I'm pretty excited about this.
Awesome. Fantastic. If you're new to the podcast, my name is Brian DeCord. I'm Director of Goaltending, Scouting, and Development for the Detroit Red Wings, former coach at Boston University and the Boston Bruins, and former scout at the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Director of Goaltending for the now defunct Arizona Coyotes. John Corrado is a former goaltending coach at Northeastern University, Merrimack College, and Boston College. John, you want to introduce Eric?
Absolutely. Like I said, I met him on Instagram. You just kind of go through your goalie listings and people pop up and I send him a couple of Instagram shots. And Eric, tell us what you do, because I'm very excited to have this podcast. It's something totally different that we're going to be doing. And I'm very excited to hear how you got involved and everything about it.
Yeah, well, thanks, John, and thanks, Brian, for having me. As John said, my name is Eric Woodbeck. I'm the goalie coach for the U.S. National Men's Sled Hockey Team, as well as some other titles and roles that I have now with USA Hockey. But that is my main title right now. But I'm actually over in Czechia right now. We are at a tournament in the IPH Cup, competing against 4 other countries. China is our next game on Saturday, and then we beat Czechia here last night, and then before we beat Canada and Italy. And so we'll wrap up on Saturday with our game against China, and then after that we'll go into a medal round game of some sort, whether it's gold or bronze medal game. We're not 100% sure yet, but we'll be in one of those two for Sunday, and then come home on Monday.
Now tell me something. Are you in Prague?
No, we are in Ostrava.
Ostrava. Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. We had actually, Sense Arena had one of their sites there that they had their developers. So I've been to Ostrava myself. Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and actually my goalies brought their Sense Arena stuff with them.
So okay. So you guys use Sense Arena with. Oh, that's phenomenal. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we do. It's a little different for them just because they're not used to, obviously being in a sled or being in their bucket. They're a little bit lower to the ground, but we set the heights a little bit differently for them than a normal stand-up or able-bodied goalie would be. And so at least for one thing, they really appreciate all the hand-eye coordination stuff. For them, that's way more involved in our game than a normal able body would, for sure.
Okay, so it's a lot of hands.
Yes.
And then a tremendous, to me, it seems like a tremendous amount of core work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Those guys are they are world-class athletes without a doubt. They are 100% like all on board with doing whatever they can do to get better, and also keeping themselves active and physically fit. Like one of our goalies, Jen Lee, is a former military person. I think, if I remember right, I believe he was in the Army. But he is really, really likes to do anything new and exciting and different. And so having him get in touch with and get the Sense Arena stuff in his hand, he really loves all the stuff. Like even before practice today, I saw him get online and do a session about screens and tips, and yeah, it's definitely helped them out.
That's amazing. Now, talk me through a practice for a sled hockey goalie. Does it mirror the exact same format as an NHL or college practice, or is anything different about training goalies and the different facets of practice? Is that everything kind of look the same, or is there anything different about it?
A lot of it is the same. However, there is some differences. clearly that with them, we don't use, or they don't use their legs as much as, like, we don't talk about going into a butterfly or a butterfly slide or anything like that. Like, that's obviously going to be a little bit different for them. But as far as practice goes, our traditional practices, I get anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes at the beginning of the practice, and we go through stuff that they want to work on. I always ask them what they want to work on before a game or before before what we're going to do, and then I tailor their drills to them. A lot of them you can still use with our able-bodied kids. They're the same drills for the most part, but for them, obviously being in their buckets the entire time and being there, we are gracious enough, or the other coaches, our head coach is very gracious enough to give us that much time to work with me and go through things. And then from there, then it's a lot of small games. We do a ton of small games within our team format, and not a whole lot of, occasionally we'll do some situational stuff if it's before, like, for instance, before the Paralympics. I'm assuming we're going to do a lot more maybe situational things like power play and penalty kill and what have you. But but like the practice today, for instance, was we just played cross ice 2v2, and that's what they get thrown in the fire and use those small games to learn in different situations. And it's a lot of fun, and it's very fast too. That's the other thing about the way the way the players move now is unreal how fast that those guys are. That was definitely an eye opener when I first got on the ice with those guys, that how fast they can move as compared to even our able-bodied kids, and what they can do in a sled is amazing.
What kind of goals are most predominant in sled hockey? So is it mostly east-west plays, high to low? Is it jams? Is it wraparounds? Where's the focus for sled hockey goalies? Where do they need to focus their effort?
For them,
they see.
Yeah, for them, it would be more lateral plays and crossing that Royal Road. We try to do that as a team. The more chances we can get that way, the better off we're going to have scoring. I know the game against Czech yesterday, we I think in our first few goals, that's exactly how we scored. Is we went right across the road, and they couldn't keep up with our speed. And so that's kind of where our focus is we do a lot of lateral plays. We do some post play just because it does show up. It's probably not as prevalent as you'd think, or as much as it is in our able-bodied game. We do a lot of screens and tips. Not a whole lot of other teams do, but we do quite a bit. We have a couple guys that played able-bodied hockey before they were disabled, and so they bring a different element to the game that some of our normal players have never. They didn't grow up with hockey; they just started doing it since this, and so having them learn a little bit about some of those things is important. So we do a lot of screens, tips, and lateral plays. That's predominantly most of the goals are from that area, or breakaways. There's a ton of breakaways.
There's a ton of breakaways, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially from our team. We don't give up very many breakaways, but we get a lot of breakaways with it being the hybrid icing and international rules. And we can chip pucks out or lob pucks off the glass, and we got our team speed is faster than most other countries, and so we utilize that to a strength for us, especially when you have some guys like Malik Jones had a really nice goal yesterday. Declan Farmer had 3 or 4 goals yesterday. And so getting those guys going and how fast they can use their speed, it's definitely we score a lot on our breakaways, and we gave up one yesterday too, because there was a scrum on the side half wall, and it came out right from our bench right to the guy, and he came in on a breakaway. So, but most of the time for us, it's the lateral plays, but then also breakaways, but not as much post play as you'd think. So as far as like an RBH or a VH or anything like that, we don't necessarily, we can't get into that as easy, obviously, just because of the way our buckets sit and how the sleds are. But there is some dead angle plays that do show up. But I would say predominantly it's those lateral plays with breakaways probably be a number two.
I'll say in the few games I've been able to watch in the last Olympics, I am just shocked at how quick the puck comes off the stick. You know, it's obviously there's not a big windup because they're so low to the ice, and you're looking for that windup. You're looking to see where that release point is coming in. That puck is off the blade before you even recognize it. And to see the reflexes they have with the hands, I mean, I've never seen better hands on goaltenders. The ability to just get the hands involved in plays. Again, that release point, it's so quick. If you're not tracking that puck and you're not following the puck everywhere, you're not gonna even see it to stop it. And then, like I said, with the sleds out there, it creates a natural screen on most of the plays to start with.
Yeah, and that's something that we were at a training camp in Falmouth, Mass, and we were out there last year, about maybe a little later in this, probably January, and we had a high school team come out with us. And that was the one thing that I was chatting with those goalies there, and they were actually like, they couldn't, the screening and just with our guys standing in the way, they were like, how can you see that when we can't see that because of where they're at and the misdirections and all the different ways our guys hide pucks, and you can't even see it. And like, we can't see it. I'm like, yeah, now imagine if you're sitting in a sled and try to make those saves. Like, it's that much harder. So we try to do a lot of that, but you're right with the hands for them is everything. It's different because in our game, there isn't a set rule as far as what the pad you can play with. And so like Jen Lee, who's been with the team for a number of years now, plays with a single pad because he's a single amputee. But he plays with a pad. But the other two right now that are here with us, Griffin Lamar and Kyle Huckabee, they do not. They play with just shin pads. Very similar to Steve Cash, who was the Hall of Famer now.
Yeah.
Cash was amazing. I sorry to interrupt you. Watching him play, I couldn't get enough of watching him play. You talk about like the backbone of a team. You talk about a goaltender that made every save when the team needed to make it. I watched 2 or 3 of his games during the Olympics that year, and I couldn't wait to watch him again. He was one of those goals like, what is he going to do now to make a save? How is he going to make the next save? And he always made the next save. I was just so impressed watching him.
Yeah, that was a very humble. My first year being out there on the ice with them was in 2018. So it'd been a while ago, but I being around with Steve and Jen at that point, that was truly humbling experience, but also a treat to sit there and pick their brain a little bit about how different it is. Because Steve also played stand-up before he got disabled. So he played goalie before or prior to that. So he had some knowledge that way.
Do you know where he played?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't remember that part, but he did play some before his disability took over. So therefore he couldn't, or then he played sled. But getting back to the hands thing too, I mean, that was one thing with him. He was always really very smooth when it came to glove work and positioning, and that's another big focus for us is we want to work on our positioning to make sure we're making saves and not getting out of position. Because if we get out of position in a sled, if you think about you being, if you're an able-bodied person, where we might open our hips up, rotate, and slide out, they're having to do that, but then also have a sled. And sometimes those sled gets a little, depending on the type of sled that you have and whatever else, like you could run into some issues. And I've seen that at some of our development camp stuff where they'll have an extra bolt in there for like one of their straps that strap them in. And then all of a sudden the guy tries to slide and the bolt's catching. And so that has an issue with them. So, it's like most of our goalies are not padded as far as the single leg, like Jen has played with that. But the other teams that we're playing, for instance, if Canada, they play cross-legged. So if you ever watch a team Team Canada play, they are almost like in a crisscross applesauce, if you want to think of it that way. They play that. And so for them, it's, they get bigger in the net. They take up more area. One of the Czech goalies plays with double pad, so they're ratchet strapped together, and that's how they play. So it's also sometimes kind of fun just reminding myself, because I am a little bit older, so I still remember being taught how to do 2-pad stacks and skate saves and whatever else. And so having that 2-pad stack background, a little bit knowledge, it's kind of fun because that's exactly some of the things that we have to do. Granted, we don't have pads, they're shin pads, but at the same time, it's, we're stacking pads a lot of times and sliding that way, out of that movement or out of that motion.
Is there any way that they train their hands? So other than sensory, like if hands is such a focus, anything that you do on the ice or anything they do off the ice that helps them with their glove and block work?
Yeah. Besides that, they utilize the racquetball or a tennis ball on a daily basis, doing different, the same things that most of our able-bodied kids are doing, juggling, all that kind of stuff. It's the same for that way. They're doing the same situations where they're bouncing the ball, like if they're working together, if it's the two of them, for instance, there's partner one behind the other and they're throwing the ball and they're catching it. They're maybe not like down in their butterfly or down sitting down or anything, or in a ready stance necessarily. Yeah. But they are doing a lot of the same things. So none of that is any different for them as compared to an able-bodied kid or an able-bodied goaltender. So they do the same thing. They just might do a little bit more because that's how they have to move. And they do make way more saves with their glove and blocker than they do with their pad.
Now, where were you coaching before you started coaching with the sled hockey?
So before, and I still do, like way back, and Dak, you might remember this, but you were in Grand Forks for the World Juniors.
Oh, yes.
Was that 2017 or 18, something like that?
That had to be about 9 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I still do coach high school hockey in North Dakota, at Minot High and Minot North. They're co-op now, so it's called Minot United. But so I still do coach hockey with them, and then I also do stuff for our youth programs. I've coached our community-based model program that we have. That I've been doing that for a while. But after that time in Grand Forks for that World Championships, when you were there and talked about it, that was when Phil was just starting the 51 and 30 movement.
Yeah.
And so David Hoff, who's our head coach for the national sled team, he's also our coach in chief for our district and our state. And he invited me then to come and start working our camps. And when that came about, I put my name in, and so I've been kind of with that sense or that stuff since that time. And so now helped Steve Thompson out a lot with our coaching ed programs. I've helped design our silver and our bronze curriculum, as well as our gold stuff that we've had over the last couple of years. And so, yeah, it's just been just keep wanting to grow and keep wanting to get better and bigger. And now with
so with this with now you're with your experience now at the highest level of sled hockey. Now, has that impacted your training with able body, your traditional training? Have you taken something or some element or mindset, or has something from your experience there translated into making you a better coach?
Definitely. Working with these guys is truly an experience because of what they've all been through, and how they became disabled is, like each one of them is a little bit different story. Like one, for instance, my R1 goalie, Jen, he lost his leg in a motorcycle accident while in the military. But we've got guys on our team that are that are military vets. We've got guys on our team that have lost legs due to like cancer or anything like that. And so it's definitely a humbling experience. And so with that, or being out there with them, then how it improves with the able body is, the able body, the kids, because they are kids, they tend to think, well, we have it so much easier. Well, you do, because they have to do all those, they have a lot more things to overcome and work through, but also the way these guys focus and the way these guys have their attention to detail is unmatched. I mean, having them, the way they focus on things and the way they train and the way they overcome everything that they do. For me as a coach, I have then started implementing things, even more things, like more non-negotiables on kids, that as going through the programs and going through all the different situations, like now I expect more of them than probably I did before.
Interesting. So in terms of their focus, in terms of their intensity level, their attention to detail.
Yeah, and that's something that I think has changed a little bit over the last year or so, working with these guys, and then also working with my able-bodied. And one of them, just like in your situation, one of them is my own son. My own son Henry, he's a 15 years old now, and he's getting to that point where he knows what he wants to do, and he thinks he wants to continue hockey after playing high school. And so now it's like, okay, you have a nice goal. I love your goal, and I love your dream and your passion for everything that you're doing. So, but now you have to do more than what you did before. And so working with these guys, and it's fun when when my sled goalies get on a Zoom call with him too, because then they'll end up talking with each other and just seeing how things are going. And he actually enjoys visiting with them every now and then.
Very cool. And then the structure internationally, is it similar to the women's game and the men's game in terms of who the powers are? Or is there a different lineage in terms of who the powerful countries are?
No, it's pretty well. No, I wouldn't say it's similar. There's probably 4 teams that are necessarily above everybody else, and then after that it kind of falls off. And so us and Canada being probably the 2 top powerhouses, and then you have Czechia and China probably right behind that. Both
China is number 4, huh?
Yeah, they took 4th here this last year at Worlds.
Wow.
And they just skate very well, and that's one thing that we're kind of nervous about for tomorrow, is we have a couple injuries and and not everybody's here, and so but they just skate very well. they're a fast team, and so we've got some young kids that are stepping up and playing very well, but we're not 100% sure how they're going to be against speed yet. So, but as far as the other stuff, the other teams, from Worlds and such like that, like we played Norway at the World Championships, and they just can't keep up with us. Sweden and Finland have teams, but they are in the B pool. So as far as the Scandinavian teams go, there's a lot of countries that don't have a lot of funds and don't have a lot of buy-in from their administration to actually have sled hockey. And so there's a team actually, especially in the women's game, the women's sled game, where it's just called World, and it's everybody that hasn't on one of them, or they might have one or two ladies from, France or something, or a country like that doesn't really necessarily have it. And so they try to come up with something for them. But but as far as us go, there is an A and a B pool, but the powers are those four.
Gotcha. That surprised me. I didn't know that China would be power in sled hockey.
Yeah, like I said, they skate really, really well. And that's one thing that, obviously I know how our guys can skate, but we are down a couple guys just because of injuries, and, those things happen. And so we just have to overcome those. And I think
how many do you carry on a roster? How many travel with you, and how many are on the bench? What's a breakdown of a team look like?
We normally, our breakdown or our roster can only be 17. And so when we are competing in a international competition, when it's sanctioned by like IHF, it's 17 is our number. So Paralympics, Worlds, all those kind of things, those are at 17. Now we have 20 with us. 19 now, because one guy did get sent home. He got injured. And so in recovery, because he had to have surgery, in recovery, he went home to be at home for that instead of being stuck over here. So, we have 20 right now, but we will have to trim that number. So there's a couple guys that are here with us right now, but will not be when it comes Paralympic time in March.
And do these players, does your team, do they come in for certain camps? And obviously they're spread out across the country. How does that format work?
So about once a month we get together somewhere. Last year it was very heavy in the Northeast. We were in Falmouth for one, and then we were in Boston for the Four Nations. They brought us in the NHL brought us in to do a series with Canada during that time. Trying to think where else were we. I think that was about the only ones that I can remember out east. But because we were in Madison, Wisconsin for another one. But about once a month we come in and get together. These guys, there's a lot of them that live in the Denver area. So of those 17 guys, there's probably about 8 or 9 of them that have now moved to Denver, or in that Denver area, and live and work out of there. And so they usually train together and work together. And then there's another decent sized group in Nashville. And so those are kind of the two main hubs. But there are people from all over. There's a couple guys from Carolina, Chicago has a couple.
Any mass hits?
On the current roster, no. There is one that was there for tryouts from Boston, but I don't think so. Well, no, I take that back. One of my own goalies is a Mass kid. Never mind.
Who's that?
Because he lives in Nashville now. So now we consider him a Nashville guy, but he's actually he's born up in Mass. Griffin Lamar.
Okay, awesome.
One of our. Yep.
Awesome. And so everything's funded by USA Hockey. So every month they go, they play, they practice, and they get ready eventually for the World Championships and the Olympics.
Yep.
So
Yep.
sled
So we'll
hockey
be.
event.
Yep. So we'll do. So after this tournament, we'll be home for a couple weeks, and then we will go to Boulder and have a training camp just after Veterans Day, and then after that, the next tournament, or maybe tournament, we're not 100% sure, is going to be up in Canada for something. And then after that, after the first of the year, our guys will all of them will have to, whoever's on the national team that is going to go represent Team USA in the Paralympics, they will have to go into residency, and that is where they will either rent a house or apartments or whatever else in Boulder. And so after January 5th, they will be there, and then until we leave for the games. And we leave for the games February 27th.
Oh, that's exciting.
And so they'll skate together. They'll live together. A lot of the guys have jobs that they work remotely. Or like in some of the cases, they might be retired military or disabled military. So they get something from there. Plus they do get something, I believe, from USA Hockey as well. I'm not 100% sure for that, but that's what will happen. And then we'll have some people there from USA Hockey helping us run practices when we're not there. But for us as coaches, we'll take turns and we'll go fly out to Denver and run practices for a weekend for them, and then go back to our daily jobs, because we are, the three of us that coach are just volunteers.
Okay.
Officially, so we're not under contract or not under anything like that, but we volunteer for this and for them, and it's definitely, like I said, it's a humbling experience to be with them.
Well, if there's anything that Stop It Goaltending can do, if you're ever in Massachusetts with the gang, then it'd be great to be involved and see, whatever we could do. That'd be awesome. We got to get some posts up, John.
Yes, for certain.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got to get we get quite a big following on our Stop It Instagram site. We got to get some posts up to get the build up to the Olympics.
This is exactly the interview I wanted to have. It's a unique part of the sport, and I think if you haven't seen it, you're missing out on seeing tremendous athletes. And again, when we connected over Instagram, I thought this is going to be a fantastic moment to promote the sport the way it should be.
Yeah, that would have been something. Honestly, when we were in Boston, that would have been. I know we were over at. I don't remember what rink we were at. I remember it was behind a Target. There was a Target, and then there was a rink right behind it, and that was where we were at when we played.
We love your goalies to come to visit the pad. We have about $100,000 worth of cognitive training equipment. We've got our ice sheet there. We've got everything imaginable. We've got an incredible physical therapist that is a specialist in terms of neuro and movement. And yeah, it'd be great if you guys, your next trip to New England, we'd love to host you and do something for you guys. Yeah,
that'd be great. I'm sure they would love it. And I'll mention that to Griff as for a hometown boy for you guys. Just because
awesome. Hey, any video, any clips you have, send it along to us and we'll get it up on the site.
Yeah, no problem.
And we can't thank you enough for joining us today. We wish you the best of luck in the Olympics. That's so exciting, and hopefully we can help do anything we can to help you guys out.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time nervous a little bit, just because it'll be my first one representing our country. But after the Worlds here this last May, June, it's definitely has been an eye-opening experience and humbling experience, and so much fun to be around this team. They are a tremendous group of character guys for sure, and it's amazing what they are and who they are and what they stand for. So
Well, can't thank you enough. And if you're, once again, if you're new to Stop It Goaltending U, feel free to download us, Stop It Goaltending U on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. And hopefully we see you again next week.